It's Sarah back again. I hope you guys have been doing good. I want to keep, pumping out some of these videos for you guys, keep the knowledge going. So I know that my last video, I spoke a little bit about joint venture objections and some of the major obstacles or questions that will pop up consistently in some of your conversations with potential investor partners. So I hope you guys found that informative. Today, I want to switch tack a little bit, do a shorter video just to give you guys a little bit of inspiration if you're feeling stuck. So today we are going to talk about the 4 ways that you can invest in real estate today with no money down. It's not a gimmick. I'm not lying. I promise you. If you can make these strategies work for you, you can invest in real estate today without your own capital. Sounds crazy? Let's get into it. So thanks for coming back to my channel and watching my videos. Again, if you guys are liking the content, please subscribe below. I've also linked my email, my website, all my social media if you'd like to give me a follow. And if you're interested in working one-on-one with me, definitely check out the link and let me know. I'm also open to any topics if you guys want me to get more in depth in some of this stuff too. I'd love to cover this more. All right, so let's get started. So the first way that you can invest today without any of your own capital is through RRSP Mortgages. So I'm not gonna get into this stuff super in depth. I can do more detailed vlogs about this, but RRSP Mortgages are fantastic. A lot of people don't even know that these are a thing in Canada. One issue is they are highly regulated by the government. This is not like you have a great RSP and you can just take out all your capital and go invest it in a mortgage. Unfortunately, it is not that simple. It needs to be run through these trust holding companies, lots of paperwork involved. But at the end of the day, when you think about it, it's a really great strategy because there are so many people out there that have these RSPs that are just getting stuck. They're locked in there for good at like a 1.5, 2% interest rate, which is disgusting. And people want to get rid of them. Like people are like, oh my God, what do I do if I take my RSPs out? I'm going to get hit with an instant 30% tax, which is crazy. There's not a lot of options once you're locked into that RSP. So there is something now called an RRSP mortgage, which is great. And it can be lent out in arm's length or non-arm's length. So this is where things get a little tricky, and I highly advise that you guys talk to a good investment-based mortgage broker and a tax accountant because things can get a little tricky. You technically are not, you cannot loan, your own RSP money to yourself, but you can switch your RSPs over to a self-directed RSP, which is great because then if you have RSP money that is stuck, you can at least loan it out to some other investors that are non-arm or that are arm's length and get a better return, maybe even up to like 15% on your cash, which is not that terrible. The other cool part about RSP lending is the fact that if you have hit your contribution cap for the year, any interest on that mortgage that comes back into your RSP does not affect your cap limit. So it's really a great tool if you have an RSP and you want to loan it. But today we're talking about using people's RSP money. So technically, you cannot accept an RSP mortgage from a close direct family member. However, there are ways around that. Again, I am not a lawyer. I am not a mortgage broker. I don't want to give you guys the wrong advice, but I do know that there are steps that you can take. If you do have a family member, a great aunt, a friend, a colleague that has a couple $100,000 or more in their RSPs, you can talk to them and see if they're interested in loaning at, 10%, 8%, higher than the sad 2% they are probably encountering at the moment. And the greatest part is that they don't have to withdraw it. It's all held within their RSP. There's no tax implications on their part unless they are physically withdrawing that money. So it's a great strategy, guys, and it is a way that technically we use RRSP mortgages for second mortgages. However, depending on the comfort of the person you are borrowing from, the cost of the house you're looking to purchase, say it's for a flip or something like that, you could easily cover 100% loan to value. You can just not cover more than 100% of the loan to value. The trust companies will not like that. So in that case, say you were doing a rehab, you would have to try to find some private capital to do your renos. But it is definitely an option. Or if you need to make up a little extra capital on a bigger commercial property, it's the perfect option for a second or third mortgage. So that's number one. So number two is wholesaling. So if you guys are looking to get into real estate, flip, make some cash, do some deals, you can easily get properties under contract for a little bit to no money down, depending on how you structure these contracts. So wholesaling is super cool. Basically what you're doing is you are going out, you're finding private deals, private home sellers that don't want to work with realtors, maybe they're in tax arrears or in foreclosure, and they want to just sell the agreement, of sale to purchase their house. Then what you are going to do is then sell that contract to another investor or homeowner for a fee, and that is called an assignment fee. So that is how a lot of real estate investors get started. Oftentimes, you might have to put down a little bit of cash for that contract, $1,000 or $2,000. But again, depending on the negotiation and what you agree to with the sellers and how quickly you can find an investor, sometimes you can do it for literally no money down at all, which is pretty cool. I know some wholesalers do it a bit differently. They might actually take the house in its entirety, close on it, and then resell it. But the whole concept of assigning the purchase is 100% feasible. It's a little more legwork. You have to, I'm sure everyone has seen those flyers and Kijiji ads and postcards that go out, we buy houses for cash kind of thing. Some are successful, some are not. There are some great tips out there. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Bigger Pockets. It's a great resource. It is unfortunately based in the US, so the regulations there are much more lax than they are in Canada. We do not have access to the same call lists and demographic data that they do. However, there is a lot of really good tips and advice if that's something that you might be interested in. And it's a way that you can start to, generate some capital, some income through this whole wholesaling concept. And if you are able to acquire financing and work with some private lenders and things like that, you can potentially close on these homes yourself. It's gonna get a little creative. This is the thing. If you guys don't have capital, real estate is a bit of a rich man's game, but if you are resourceful, you can make it work. I could think, if you get a wholesale property under contract and you want to keep it as a rental, you can look for an RRSP mortgage for your down payment and then qualify through a conventional bank. And then, cash out your lender in, 1 to 3 to 5 years. Once you've done some renovation on the property, you increase the value, do a refinance. There's just so many different ways you can go about owning real estate without putting any of your own cash down. So I call this tips 4.5. So here's point 2.5. Now, I'm sure you guys have all heard of rent to own, but there's also something called a lease option. So basically, it is literally just the same thing as a rent to own, but we also, as investors, can use this strategy. So a little bit of a workaround, and it's actually pretty cool. So for all of you who like the idea of rent to own, but maybe you haven't gotten to the point where you have found your own joint venture partners, you can't hold a mortgage, whatever the case may be, you can kind of link wholesaling with this idea of rent to own and not have to put any cash down. I know this sounds insane. So think about the concept like this. Most people who would privately sell their home to you, it is for a reason. It is because their home is run down, they can't afford to put it on the market, they owe so much in back taxes and mortgage payments, or they're going through a divorce. Like, I could just think of 100 things off the top of my head, and none of them are good. They are usually distressed sellers. Now, if you happen to stumble across a seller who is in massive mortgage arrears or tax arrears, and they're worried about foreclosure, they're worried about, selling the home, they have nowhere to go, they need some time, you can offer them a pretty cool solution. So now you can take it under contract, assign that, make your 9 to 10 to 20,000 or whatever your assignment fee is. But you could also try to make this a long play. Now, if this homeowner wants to hang on to this house a little bit longer, maybe they need a little bit extra cash over the next few years, you can get this home under contract and then put in a tenant buyer. Get that? So this is cool. So instead of you buying the home outright, or getting it under contract and then assigning the rights of sale to a third party, instead you are going to help this homeowner out by having them stay on title, and then you are going to get a tenant buyer into the home who's going to put down the lease option fee, which is their mini down payment. They're going to be paying rent to this distressed homeowner who is probably already struggling to pay a mortgage. And at the end of the day, you're going to be in this deal somehow long term. Now, how you're going to structure that gets a little tricky. Maybe you take 30%, maybe you manage the tenant buyer and they're even willing to give you 50%. I don't know how you want to work that out. Get creative. This is like the fun part about real estate, especially with no capital down. You can do some crazy stuff. I've been like reading up on this and came across this strategy and thought it was brilliant. Caveat, I have not tried it myself, but on paper, it makes sense. There's no reason why you couldn't do something like this, especially for a homeowner that is ready to move out. Maybe they found a cheaper home, or they're just moving off to rent, and they just, for whatever reason, can't sell right this second, or they just don't want to. It's such an elegant solution for everyone. You bring in a tenant buyer, they put down the down payment, you don't have to touch it in terms of cash. You're helping this homeowner pay the mortgage down even more on the property, and then come, the end of a 3-year term, the tenant buyer purchases the home, they get cashed out at a higher amount and hopefully pay off some of their debts and their struggles while helping them pay the mortgage, and you get a little bit of cash on the side as well. So it's a bit of a long play, it's a bit interesting, but I thought I'd throw that out there because I thought it was a super interesting concept. So now on to number 3. So this is called a vendor take-back mortgage. Now, this is a little interesting. I've not heard of too many 100% VTBs. So why I'm saying that is because I did say that this is, put no money down. I cannot guarantee that you will find a vendor take back mortgage situation where you won't have to put down a cent. But I am encouraging you guys to go out and explore some of these concepts, because working knowledge of these things will allow you to expand your mind, to get more creative about thinking about how to buy capital, or how to buy properties if you don't have any of your own capital. I'm listing like thing after thing after thing. So these roadblocks in your head and you feel stuck, you don't have to feel stuck. There are so many alternatives out there for you guys, and they are a bit tough. You have to do a lot of learning. There's a learning curve. There's a bit of, time invested to finding people and putting all of these things together. But I guarantee you guys, if you can master some of these tactics, you will be able to grow a portfolio. I've used VTBs multiple times. It is an incredibly popular strategy with commercial or larger multi properties, because most larger multis tend to be held for quite a long time. Nobody's gonna own a 10-plex and only hold it for 2 years. It's usually not the strategy. They'll own it for 10, 20, 30 years and keep it in the family. So the cool part about a VTB is it is used in situations when a seller has a significant amount of equity in a property. It doesn't mean they have to own it mortgage free. I'm pretty sure I've read that, it could be anywhere from even just, 20 to 30% equity in the property. There's not much of an upside to the seller at that point. But if they have more than, 60 to 80% equity in the property, then you can create a pretty lucrative offer. So the way it works is this. They own, let's just say for ease's sake, that they own 80% of that property in equity. So they pay down 80% of the mortgage. What they can do for you is act as the bank. So if they just need a little bit of cash, maybe they want to liquidate, maybe they're getting ready to retire, they might say, hey, you know what? Put 20% down and I'm going to loan you the rest of the 80% against that. And then you guys stay in like this dual ownership structure. So usually what happens is it stays in their name and you guys register like kind of like a second mortgage against the property. So they will keep their ownership stake in the property, which makes sense because they're still holding a conventional mortgage on the property. They're responsible for the property taxes and everything that goes along with it. So they want to stay on title and you are going to be responsible for paying them every month. However, you are now going to take over the building. It is yours. Once you pay them back that 80%, the property is yours, free and clear. There's lots of other terms and structures on how you can do this. A VTB doesn't just have to mean that you have to wait the next 20, 30 years to pay them back that 80%. Usually it's like a 3 to 5 year term, and at that point you either cash them out, you work out a refi where they get X amount back that you're owing on your balance, and then you take out a conventional mortgage when you're ready. There's so many different structures. Again, like I could do an entire episode just on how to structure a vendor take back mortgage, but I just wanted to give you guys kind of like an overview on how this works and why it's such a useful, incredible way to buy properties with very little down. Now this one, I don't know if you can find one for 100% VTB. However, again, if you look at all these other tools that we have in our toolkit now, you could try to find an RRSP mortgage for that 20% down, as long as it cash flows and you can afford both mortgage payments. And again, that all depends on the rents and improvements that you can do to the building as well. If you think that you can increase cash flow and cover that, that's great. Make sure you crunch your numbers ahead of time. I highly recommend that. And again, you can try to find private lenders, hard money lenders through your mortgage broker even. And all of that, you're not putting a cent of your own money into this deal. I think it's pretty fantastic. There's so many ways. If you only have to put 10% down on a property or something that's a commercial property, you better just find a way to get that 10% down, because most commercial or large multis, you're putting down at least 35% at like an almost like, high fours, like early 5% interest rate with a conventional bank, plus the ESAs, plus all the rigmarole that they are going to put you through. So I encourage you, like, challenge yourself that, if you were put in a situation to own a like 10plex for 10% down with a VTB, go talk to your mortgage broker, figure out a way, talk to friends, talk to family, try to find some like hard money, private lenders, because that is the deal of a lifetime. You don't want to let that kind of stuff get away. So I hope that kind of like encourages you guys. I know that's what keeps me going. I find these like fantastic deals and I think to myself, oh man, like I can't afford, I can't qualify for a mortgage right now, or I just don't have that type of cash. But I look at the numbers and it's like, this is too good of a deal to let pass. So I like really put in the afterburners to figure out a way to make it work. We are the creative bunch. Yes, sometimes it might suck that we don't have our own capital yet to put down into some of these deals. But remember guys, all it takes is a few properties in your portfolio for things to really get rolling. Once you like build up some equity, you get to refinance a couple in a couple years and pull out some equity with advanceable mortgages and HELOCs. you're in good shape. So I just encourage you guys to not get discouraged in the beginning when it seems really tough. Just keep pushing and, you know, work on getting those first few in your portfolio. And I promise, like, everything will start to come together and you will get a lot more confident. Because the number 4 way to buy properties without putting money down is joint venture partnerships. It's what I basically centered this entire channel around. That's why I left it till last, because I talk about it so much, but I had to throw it on this list because it is such an incredible tool. Because I'm trying to find ways that you guys can invest without putting like a single cent into a deal. And joint venture partners are the way to do that. You can use 5 different joint ventures for one deal if you need to make up the gap. I'm not recommending that is the way to do it. I always am a fan of, the fewer hands in the pot, the better kind of thing. But if you really need to get a deal done and you need this money temporarily because you know it's only going to take you 6 months so that you can qualify for a conventional mortgage and then you're going to cash everybody out, then maybe a 5-person, joint venture mashup for 6 months actually like makes sense to you. If it's like, again, the deal of a lifetime. But it just goes to show you that you really can buy real estate in Canada, in Ontario, without your own cash. Joint ventures are so cool because it can be private money that they give you and you can buy a property entirely in cash or the down payment. They can hold a conventional mortgage and you can even get a second JV or someone with an RRSP mortgage to put down the down payment. There's so many different ways of structuring all this stuff. I hope this wasn't too overwhelming for you guys. I know I threw a ton of info at you, a ton of different scenarios. So maybe what I'll do is I'm going to put together like a quick little flow sheet of how some of these deals look in real life and how you can structure them that makes sense for you. And again, guys, if you are interested in trying to do any of this and you feel like you just need a little extra boost, give me a shout. I love working with you guys one-on-one. I take so much pride and passion in, giving this knowledge to others and really helping them achieve their real estate goals and like really just like living the life that they want. And I truly believe that real estate is the way forward to financial freedom for so many people. So I'd love to help you guys, teach you how to talk to joint venture partners, how to structure some of these things. Again, I always highly recommend that you talk to your lawyers, your mortgage brokers, and your tax accountants before taking action on anything. I am an expert, but not in all of those fields. So I'm giving you a lot of this info just from my experience and talking to a lot of these professionals myself. But I recommend that you sit down, and if you want to learn more in depth about these things, that you reach out to them. And I would also love the opportunity to coach you guys through some of this as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this and found this useful. Again, please subscribe to my channel if you like it. I'm going to just keep pumping out as many videos like this as I can to help you guys. And if there's any topics that you'd like to hear about, just let me know. All right, guys, take care. Talk soon.